Welcome to today's lessons. In our previous lesson, we looked at the units of time, and we said that the unit that is used to measure time, we have the seconds as the standard unit. Then we can convert from seconds to various other units, that is minutes, hours, days, weeks, and even a year, and so on. So depending with whatever unit you want to work with, you are in a position to convert from one unit to another using the various conversion rates that we have. So we want to look at how do we work with time. When you are given various occasions of time and you need to work with it and find out what is the difference between one of the time and the other. Or maybe, for instance, you need to travel maybe by train, by bus, by air, and so on. Whatever means of transport you're going to use, you find that there are some other means of transport that has various time intervals of traveling, so that if you need to travel by train at a certain time, by that time the train will be leaving a given station to another station. Then we have the expected time of arrival to another station. So that is a time interval that is required in traveling of that given train. So we just want us to find out how do we calculate the time intervals. So we have the question. We are required to find the difference between the times that we've been given. The first one, we have between 12 noon and 6:30 p.m. So we need to find out first which time is ahead of the other for us to be able to find out the difference between the two times. So we get that 6:30 p.m. is ahead of the 12 noon. So we can convert the 6:30 p.m. into 24-hour clock system, because we already looked at the 12-hour clock system and the 24-hour clock system. So we can convert our 6:30 p.m. into 24-hour clock system and get the difference between the two times. So when we have 6:30 in 24-hour clock system, 6:30 will be plus 12 hours, because 6:30 p.m. means that these are 12 hours past the noon. So this will mean that we will have 1830 hours. So 1830 hours is our time in 24 hours. So that means that if I have to get the difference between the two times, then I have 1830 minus 1200 hours. So that will mean that I have 1830 minus 1200 hours. When we subtract, then we have 30 minutes. And 18 hours minus 12 hours, we have 6. So the difference between the two times, then it is 6 hours, 30 minutes. Or if we express them in hours only, then it means that we have 6.5 hours. The second part, we have 12 midnight and 4:20 p.m. So we need to get the difference between 12 midnight and 4:20 p.m. So this is midnight, this is 4:20 p.m. We need to get the difference between the two times so that we are in a position to identify the difference in time. So we are at 4:20 p.m. This is 12 midnight. Getting the difference between the two, 4:20 p.m. simply means that if this is 4 hours 20 minutes past past noon, so this means that for me to convert this to 24-hour clock system, I have plus 12 hours, so that we have 1620 hours. Then getting the difference between the two, 12 midnight is in 24-hour clock system is simply 2400 hours. So having that, then it means that we can get the difference between the two of them. So I have 2400 hours minus 1620 hours. So when we subtract, we have 20 minutes cannot be subtracted from 0 minutes. So it means I borrow 1 hour from the 24 hours so that I will remain with 23 hours. And 1 hour, when we convert it to minutes, then we have 60 minutes. So I have 60 minutes minus 20 minutes. That gives me 40 minutes. Then 23 hours minus 16 hours. This gives us 7 hours. So the difference between the two times then is 7 hours, 40 minutes as the difference between the two times. Still, the 7 hours, 40 minutes can be expressed in hours only, meaning I can convert my minutes into hours so that I have 7 and 40 out of 60. 40 over 60, 0 and 0 cancels out. 2 into 4, we have 2. 2 into 6, that is 3. So these 7 hours, 40 minutes is simply the same as 7 and 2 out of 3 hours. We are having 10:45 a.m. 10:45 a.m. is simply 10:45 hours. Tamwambia hiyo ingine afute ama mtasahau. So 10:45 a.m. is simply 10:45 hours in 24-hour clock system. We are having 12 midnight. It means that we are moving from midnight as we move to the morning hours. So 12 midnight, if I need to convert it into the 24-hour clock system, since we are moving to the morning hours, then it means that my midnight will be the 00 hours because we are moving to the midnight. The previous sum that we worked out, we were moving from the noon as we move to the midnight. You are coming afternoon to midnight. So it means that your hours were adding up. But in this case, we are starting up the day. So since we are starting up the day, then my 12 midnight will be 00 hours. So we need to get the difference between the two of them. Then it means 10:45 hours will be ahead of my 00 hours because this is the start of the day and these are 10 hours past that given day. So 10 hours 45 minutes past the morning. That means that the difference between the 2 hours will be 10:45 hours minus the 00 hours, so that I have 45 minutes minus 0, we have 45, and 10 minus 0, also we have 10. So it means that the difference between the 2 hours, we have 10 hours, 45 minutes as the difference between 12 midnight and 10:45 a.m. This is simply 10 hours, 45 minutes past the midnight, and that is why the difference is remaining the same. Because you've, just from the time the day started, this person has moved from midnight until 10:45 a.m. So it means the difference between 10:45 a.m. and 12 midnight will be 10 hours, 45 minutes. If I convert them to hours, then it means I have 10 hours and 45 out of 60, which gives us 10 and 3/4 hours. So the difference between 12 midnight and 10:45 a.m. will be 10 hours and 45 minutes. We need to get the difference between 11 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. We discover that this is p.m., this is a.m. So this means that the p.m. is ahead of the a.m. We can do this by just converting them to 24-hour clock system for us to find out, because we said 24-hour clock system shows us the number of hours that have been covered in the course of the day. So this means that 11 a.m. is just 11 hours after midnight. So this will mean that this day has the number of hours covered in a day is 1100 hours. So that means that in 24 hours we have 1100 hours. 3:30 p.m. simply means that these are 3 hours 30 minutes after noon. So this means I add 12 hours, because from the midnight to noon we have a difference of 12 hours. So adding 12 hours on that, it gives us 1530 hours. So that will mean that we are having 1530 hours and 1100 hours. We need to get the difference between the two times. So we'll have 1530 minus 1100. This gives us 30 minutes minus 0. We have 30. 15 hours minus 11 gives us 4 hours. So that means that this is 4 hours, 30 minutes. Converting them to hours, it means that we have 4 hours and 30 out of 60, and 30 over 60 is simply 1/2. So that means that we have 4.5 hours as the difference between 11 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. The question is, we calculate mentally the interval between the pairs of times we've been given. The first pair of time we have is 2:40 a.m. and 4:45 a.m. So the first thing we need to ask ourselves, between 2:40 a.m. and 4:45 a.m., which time is ahead and which time is behind? So we discover that 2:40 a.m. is behind and 4:45 a.m. is ahead. So being the fact that 4:45 a.m. is ahead, then the next question is, by how many hours or by how many minutes is 4:45 ahead of 2:40 a.m.? So we are calculating it mentally, and we find that the 4:45, this is 4:45, this is 2:40. So from 2:40 up to 4:40, that will be a difference of already 2 hours. Between 2:40, this is between 2:40 a.m. and 4:40 a.m. Between 2:40 a.m. and 4:40 a.m., the difference of hours between the two is simply 2 hours. Then, in addition to the 2 hours, this one was 4:45 a.m. It was not 4:40. So it means we still have a difference of 5 minutes in this case. So that will mean that the difference between 2:40 a.m. and 4:45 a.m. then will be 2 hours, but plus the 5 minutes that are not included here. So 2 hours, 5 minutes is the difference between 2:40 a.m. and 4:45 a.m. 4:20 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. We need to get the difference between the two times. So what does it mean? 6:30 p.m. is ahead of 4:20 p.m. So the question is, by how many hours is 6:30 p.m. ahead of 4:20 p.m.? So this will mean that we get the difference between the two, and from here we can simply say between 4:20 p.m. and 6:20 p.m. That is 4:20 and 6:20 p.m. Then, what is the difference of hours between the two times? Between the two times, 4:20 and 6:20. That is the same number of minutes that are covered in 4:20. We are having the same number of minutes covered on 6. So that will mean that we will have 4:20 and 6:20. That will give us a difference of 2 hours. Then how many minutes are we left with? We discovered that we are left with 30 minutes for us to, 10 minutes for us to come to 6:30. So this 6:20 needs to be added 10 minutes so as we reach the 6:30. So that will mean that the difference between 4:20 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. will simply be 2 hours, 10 minutes. So we need to find the difference between 6:40 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. So we find that these are 40 minutes after 6 a.m. and we have 30 minutes after 8 a.m. 8 a.m. is definitely, 8:30 a.m. is definitely ahead of the 6:40 a.m. But here we have a difference of 10 minutes for us to reach the 6:40. So it means a whole hour, there is some 10 minutes that are left for us to cover the remaining hour, for us to complete the remaining hour. So this means that finding the number of full hours we have, so we'll calculate between 6:40 and 7:40. 6:40 and 7:40, we have a difference of 1 hour. Then for us to be able to reach the 8:30, we have a difference of 50 minutes between 7:40 and 8:40. So we have a difference of 50 minutes. So what does that mean? Then the difference between 6:40 and 8:30 is simply 1 hour. This is supposed to be 1 hour. 1 hour and 50 minutes. So the difference between 6:40 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. is 1 hour, 50 minutes. So we get the time difference between 6:18 a.m. and 9:04 a.m. We need to find out what is the difference in time. So 18 minutes past 6 a.m. Then we have 4 minutes past 9 a.m. 9:04 a.m. is ahead of the 6:18 a.m. So we need to find out by how many hours is 9:04 a.m. ahead of 6:18 a.m. So that will mean that we need to get the full hours we have. So between 6:18, 9:04, the 4 minutes are less than the 18 minutes. So it means that the time that I need to find is now between 6:18 a.m. and 8:18 a.m. So between 6:18 and 8:18 a.m. we find that we are having a difference of 2 hours. We have a difference of 2 hours between 6:18 and 8:18. So the question is, how many minutes am I supposed to add to 8:18 so that I get the 9:04 904 hours. I need to get the number of minutes I'm supposed to add on 818 for me to get 904 hours. So this will mean that I have 904 minus 818. When we subtract, when I borrow 1 from the 9 hours, I'm left with 8 hours. So that these are 60 minutes. 60 plus 4, that is 64. So I'll have 64 minus 18. 64 minus 18, this means that I have 14 minus 8. 14 minus 8 is 6. Then 5 minus 1, we have 4. So this means that the number of minutes I need to add to 8:18 a.m. for me to get 904 a.m. is simply 46 minutes. So that brings us to the final conclusion that the time difference between 6:18 a.m. and 9:04 a.m. is simply 2 hours, 46 minutes. 2 hours, 46 minutes. So we have a timetable that is used by a train to travel from Fairfield to Redfern, and we are supposed to use this timetable to answer the questions. So according to this timetable, we have the stations that this train passes through. Then the train either travels in the morning or in the afternoon. So this means that we have the schedules for the morning, we have the schedules for the afternoon. So this train in the morning at Fairfield, it leaves at 7:32. Then to Granville, we have 7:44. Auburn, we have 7:48. Ashfield, we have 8:01. Then Redfern, we have 8:11. That is in the morning. In the afternoon, we have 2:43 at Fairfield. Then Granville, we have 2:58. Auburn, we have 2:59. Ashfield, we have 3:12. And Redfern, we have 3:23. So this means that the first question we are required to answer is, how long does it take to travel from Fairfield to Auburn in the morning? So this means that we are using the AM times that we have. So we look at the AM times. Then our point of the starting point is Fairfield, and the point the train is going to land, we are having the Auburn. So the point we are looking at, the time we are looking at is 7:48 a.m. and 7:32 a.m. We need to get the difference between the two. So this one, the difference is between 7:32 a.m. and 7:48 a.m. So it is simple. How do we get the difference? 7:48 is definitely ahead of the 7:32. So we'll have 7:48 minus 7:32. When we subtract, then we get that 48 minutes minus 32 minutes, we have 16 minutes. 7 minus 7 is simply 0. So it means that the difference in time between Fairfield and Auburn is simply 16 minutes. Part 2, we need to get the difference in time between Grenoble and Redfern. So the difference in time, we find that at Grenoble, this train is having the time of 7:44. Then at Redfern, we have 8:11. So the difference between 7:44 a.m. and 8:11 a.m. Grenoble, according to our timetable, it is 7:44 a.m. Then Redfern, it is 8:11 a.m. So getting the difference between the two, 8:11 is definitely ahead of 7:44. So that means I'll have 8:11 minus 7:44. 11 minutes is less than 44 minutes. So this means that I borrow 1 hour from 8 hours so that I'm left with 7 hours. 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes. So when I add 60 plus 11 minutes, then I have 71 minutes. 71 minus 44. So I have 71 minutes minus 44. This means that I have to borrow 1 from the 7 so that I'm left with 6 to make this 11. 11 minus 7, 11 minus 4 is 7. Then 6 minus 4, we have 2. So this means that we have 27 minutes. 71 minus 44 is 27 minutes. Then 7 minus 7 is simply 0. So this means that the difference between the time this train takes to travel from Grenoble to Redfern is simply 27 minutes. So we need to find the time taken by the train between Fairfield and Redfern in the afternoon. Time taken between Fairfield and Redfern in the afternoon. Afternoon is indicated by the PM. So we need to find out what is the time of this train at Fairfield. We have 2:43 p.m. Then at Redfern, we have 3:23 p.m. So what does this mean? We need to get the difference between 2:43 p.m. and 3:23 p.m. So what is the difference between the two of them? 3:23 p.m. is ahead of 2:43 p.m. So this means we get the difference by subtracting 3:23 p.m. minus 2:43 p.m. 23 minutes are less than 43 minutes. So that means I borrow 1 hour from the 3 to remain with 2 hours. So 1 hour is an equivalent of 60 minutes. So I have 83. 60 plus 23, it will give us 83. So we have 83 minus 43. So 83 minus 43, what do we have? So we will have 3 minus 3 is 0. 8 minus 4, we have 4. So this means that this is 40 minutes. Then 2 hours minus 2 hours will give us 0. So it means that between Fairfield and Redfern in the afternoon, this train takes 40 minutes. The question is, according to this timetable, does it take long to travel from Fairfield to Redfern in the mornings, or is it longer to travel from Fairfield to Redfern in the afternoon? Which time of the day will you take longer to travel from Fairfield to Redfern? So we've found out that in the afternoon, this train will take 40 minutes to travel from Fairfield to Redfern. We need to find out how long will it take in the morning. So let us find out the time taken in the morning. In the morning, the train, we have the times of 7:32 a.m. and 8:11 a.m. So getting the difference between the two of them, then I have 8:11 a.m. minus 7:32 a.m. 11 minutes are less than 32 minutes, so it means that I borrow 1 from the 8 hours, so that the 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes. When I add 60 to 11 minutes, I have 71 minutes minus 32 minutes. 71 minus 32, borrowing 1 from 7, so that I'm left with 6 to make this one 11. 11 minus 2 is 9. Then 6 minus 3 is 3. So we have 39 minutes. 7 minus 7 is 0. So we discovered that in the morning, this train will take 39 minutes to travel from Fairfield to Redfern. In the evening, we've found out that it will take 40 minutes. So which time is longer? We discovered that the time taken by this train in the evening is much longer than the time taken by the train in the morning. By how many minutes? It is simply 1 minute, because we have 39 minutes in the morning and in the evening we have 40 minutes. So the difference in time between the two traveling, that is in the morning and in the evening, we have a difference of 1 minute. So we have a question on the board that Jeremiah travels from Fairfield to Redfern in the morning, and then from Uban to Redfern in the afternoon. We are supposed to find the total travel time of Jeremiah. So this means that we need to get the time taken between the Fairfield and Redfern in the morning. We already calculated the time taken between Fairfield and Redfern in the morning, and we find out that between Fairfield and Redfern in the morning, it takes 39 minutes. Then next, what we need to find out is the time taken between Uban and Redfern in the afternoon. How long does it take? So we need to find that time in the afternoon. So afternoon, we have 12:59 p.m. 2:59 p.m. and 3:23 p.m. So the time difference between 3:23 p.m. and 2:59 p.m. So we have 2:59 p.m. and 3:23 p.m. We need to get that time difference. So this means that I have 23 minus 59. 23 is a figure that is less than 59. So I borrow 1 from the 3 hours, so that I'm left with 2 hours and I have 60 minutes. So I have 83 minutes. 83 minutes minus 59. 83 minus 59, that is, we are having 83 minutes minus 59 minutes. Then we have 13 minus 9, that is 4. We borrowed 1, so we are left with 7. 7 minus 5 is 2. So we find that 83 minus 59 minutes, we are having 24 minutes. So 2 minus 2 is simply 0. 2 minus 2 will give us 0. So we have 24 minutes in between. So between Urban and Redfern in the afternoon, this train takes 24 minutes. Between Fairfield and Redfern in the morning, the train takes 39 minutes. So what is the total time taken? Total time taken, we'll simply add the time taken between Fairfield and Redfern and that time taken between Urban and Redfern. So the total time taken by Jeremiah will be, this is 39 minutes plus 24 minutes. So 39 plus 24, 9 plus 4, we have 13, write 3, carry 1. So we have 1 plus 3, that is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. So we have 63 minutes. If I have to convert these to hours, then it means 1 minute is 60 minutes. 1 minute, one hour is 60 minutes. So if 1 hour is 60 minutes, then it means I have an hour here and a difference of 3 minutes. So that will mean that it takes 1 hour. The total time taken by Jeremiah will be 1 hour and 3 minutes. 1 hour, 3 minutes is the total time taken by Jeremiah. So the other question that we need to solve, we've been given the time durations, then we need to add to get the total time in each case. So the first case, we have 2.25 hours and 3.5 hours. So what is the total time between 2.25 hours and 3.5 hours? So this means that I have 2.25, that is a quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. Then 3.5, a half of an hour is simply 30 minutes. So when we add, we have 15 minutes plus 30 minutes. 15 plus 30, we have 45 minutes. Then 2 plus 3, we have 5 hours. So we've been told to give our answer in hours, minutes, and seconds. So this will mean that we have 5 hours, 45 minutes. We do not have seconds in this case, so our seconds are 0, and when it is 0, we don't need to indicate it. So we have 5 hours, 45 minutes as the required answer. So we need to get the total time between 2 hours, 40 minutes and 10 seconds and 10 hours, 10 minutes and 18 seconds. So I have 2 hours, 40 minutes, then we have 10 seconds. Then on the other case, I have 10 hours, 10 minutes, 18 seconds. So when we add, we start from the seconds in our addition. So I have 10 seconds plus 18 seconds gives us 28 seconds. 40 minutes plus 10 minutes, we get 50 minutes. Then 2 hours plus 10 hours. 2 hours plus 10 hours, we have 12 hours. So this means that the addition gives us 12 hours, 50 minutes, and 28 seconds. So far, we've been looking at how do we work with time. So that means that we need to know how to get the difference between two times given. In any case, you are given the times. You need to identify which time is ahead of the other one for you to get the difference between the two times. Then another way in which you can get the difference between two times is simply working it out mentally, finding out how many hours or how many minutes do I need to add to this given hour for me to get the other given hour. So this means that in working with time, you are supposed to be in a position to know that when we are adding and subtracting, we will start from the farthest end. That is, if we have the seconds, we will add or subtract first the seconds, then followed by the minutes, and finally the hours section is the last one to be worked out. So that is all for today. Thank you for listening.